Good evening and welcome to the Voter Interest Project's candidate interviews for 2023. I'm Alan McPheeters, the Executive Director of the Voter Interest Project. Our mission is to provide voters with the information they need to make informed decisions about government, candidates, and ballot measures. Our focus is local. We cover Island County, its cities and towns, and various special districts, as well as the representatives from the 10th Legislative District. The 2023 elections are local and nonpartisan. We are covering 44 elective offices on this year's ballot, including mayors, city councilors, school board directors, and commissioners for hospital, port, fire, parks, and cemetery districts. 67 candidates filed for these offices during filing week in May, and we've invited all of them to do interviews for you. We also have extensive coverage of these elections and the actions of these government agencies on our website, voterinterests.com. The following interview is with Will Smith, one of 3 candidates for the Director 5 position in the Oak Harbor School District. We provided a list of potential questions to the candidate in advance of the interview. All right, today is Monday, July the 10th. We're here with Will Smith, who's running for Oak Harbor School Board Director position 5. Well, welcome to the Voter Interest Project.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Where are you today? You at home?
I'm at my house in Oak Harbor.
Okay, good. Sometimes we've had people do this from outside or home office or work office or whatever. So, okay,
I am at home at my dining room table.
Outstanding. Good place. All right, let's just buzz through a few little checkbox kind of things to get people an idea of who you are. Are you married or are you single?
I am married to my wife. We are going on, it'll be 23 years on August 2nd. So yeah, I'm very, very happy about that.
Very good. My wife and I are celebrating our 25th anniversary in August as well. So
congratulations.
Thank you. You too. Do you have kids?
Yes, we have 2 boys. They are both high school students. They've been in the Oak Harbor Public Schools their whole life. It's kind of all we know is Oak Harbor Public Schools. So it's been fun and this is going to be a good adventure.
Very good. So now your kids have grown up here, but were you raised on Whitby?
No, I was not. I'm actually born and raised in Virginia. So I grew up in a small town, about an hour and a half south of DC itself. So a lot of good history, a lot of good enrichment there. I came out here in 1997 with the Navy. I spent 5 years here. I met my wife in Canada. She immigrated down here, married me. And then we went to California for 3 years from 2001 to 2004. We came back and we have never left. And we don't plan on leaving anytime soon, that's for sure.
Outstanding. What did you do in the service?
I was a Navy Air crewman. So I was a systems operator on EP3s. I did 3 sea tours with VQ1 here on the island, and then I did 2 other shore tours with CNETU with Training Command, as well as Wing 10, which is kind of another training command, but I was just getting the squadron operationally ready to go on the road.
Very good. Very good. And now you're out of the service. What is your day job?
I am the technology director for the Coopville School District.
Is that kind of weird working for Coopville and running for Oak Harbor?
Yeah, I've actually talked to quite a few of our board members, as well as other board members who are friends. And one of the ones that I actually got to speak with is actually worked for the South Whitby School District, as well as she worked for ESD 189. So I talked to her about it. She's like, the best thing about this is you kind of know what is happening, truly what's happening with school. So you kind of know where you're at with it. You understand WASDA, you understand OSPI because you use it every day. Right. So she says a lot of times you know more than a lot of people want you to know because you deal with it every day. Yeah. But I think my experiences so far it's just pushed me in this direction of to become a school board director, especially for the community that I live in, the community that I call my home. I think it's important. And I like the challenges that we get to face in this role. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be the director of position number 5.
Very good. Now I'm just going to backfill for some of the folks who I know the acronyms you're using. Maybe.
Oh, yes. WASDA
would be the Washington State School Directors Association. and
Yep.
OSBI is the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, which is a state level office currently held by Chris Reichdahl.
Yep.
Okay. So now, outside of schools, do you have a background in political organizations or community experience? Have you served on boards or things like that?
Not really. I mean, I've been a parent volunteer at many of the schools, Hillcrest Elementary. That's where both my sons went. I have been a volunteer for the North Whitby Soccer League for many years. But my kids, as they got older and progressed on, they're like, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore. We're actually playing for our schools." And I was like, "That is way too advanced for me." Like I said, but I've been around and I've helped support and push some stuff for the schools. To help them out that way, but never actually in this realm. I've never been in this, so this is all new territory for me.
Very good. I find most people who are running for the school board are in the same boat you're in, so that's fine. So I think you kind of touched on this before, but how did you come to decide to run for the school board? Did somebody ask you to, or just really interested, or?
So this is a very easy question to answer. It's for the kids. I was at an event with my son. My son is in the JROTC program. Actually, both my sons are in the JROTC program over at the high school. And we were at an event, and I had the opportunity. We were having lunch and everything like that, and a whole bunch of other cadets were around, and they were, just talking. And I got to the pleasure of getting to know these students, and they're just amazing kids from different walks of life, different backgrounds, and they're all in the same program together, and they all do different things, but they all do it as a team, and it's an amazing thing to watch. And I know JRTC is just one of those elements, but they were talking, and I just was listening to what they said, and there's some things I'm just like, you need a champion, and one of them asked me, is like, "Hey, can you help us?" I'm like, "I will do everything in my power to help you. Yes, I will." And that's all started. I would say it happened in March, is when I had this conversation with one of these cadets, and it just changed my whole atmosphere, my whole mindset, to run and be a champion for the students. Because a lot of times I think as adults we forget what it was to be a student and the needs that they have. And then also working in schools, there were things that I didn't know outside of that whole realm before. I've been in the schools for the past 5 years now, and I get to walk with these students. I get to hear them talk. They talk to me. They ask me really great questions. And I think we forget. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm running, is because I want somebody there who would have fought for me, just like I would do for those students, regardless of who they are. I want them to know they have a person who really cares about them. And I think that's one of the main reasons. It's having that conversation with that student really changed, I think, everything in me. It really gave me another sense of purpose. Being in the military, it's always about doing for others. And why not do something for the future? And those were all of our students. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm running. It's to do something for our future. I've already done it for the present and everything like that. I want to do it for that next generation. Like, hey, there is somebody who cared about me, who is willing to have, what the majority wants, and we have to make those decisions. So I think that's one of the hopefully main reasons why people will hopefully back me, is because I'm only here really for the students. I have nothing else in this race to even come. There's nothing that I really benefit from, but our students will. That's where this is. It's the benefit of our students.
Very good. Wow, that's a great story. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was very emotional. I'll be honest with you. This was something that we did not take lightly. My wife and I talked about this for a long time. She's like, "What can you do?" And this opportunity came up, so this is what I did.
Very good. So you have an interesting perspective being in the Coopville School District, and I don't know if you follow the Voter Interest Project at all, but we've been watching that whole business, not just in Coopville, but all the school districts having so much trouble with money and lower revenues, but maybe particularly in Coopville because of the big fuss that's come up over the firing of Tom Black. Firing is harsh, and job reduction. What is your sense of why the revenues are decreasing, and what the right approach is for the schools to handle that problem?
Um, well, as hopefully everybody knows that most school budgets are based on head count.
Mhm.
So every student is allotted X amount of dollars from the
Right.
state. And when you have a lower reduction in your students, well, that reduces your overall budget. And that's what we've seen, not just locally here in Oak Harbor, but nationwide. Ever since the pandemic, we've seen a lot more schools kind of do that alternate route, which takes kids out of that brick and mortar school. They are using home education, and I'm not talking about home connections, which is another school part that is funded, from the state. We still get our head count from that, but I'm talking about separate entities. So when we see those drop in numbers, we have to realize that we have to kind of think differently, because the cost of books, our digital curriculum, and everything else that supports students is still there.
Mhm.
The staff that we need is still there. It's what do we do with the funding we have? So unfortunately, sometimes those decisions, even though they are hard to make, have to be made, because the last thing you want to do is take away from a student
Yeah.
learning. So I think when it comes to that, it's just trying to understand exactly how important each and every single student we have in our schools are. And if we lose one student because we didn't give or wasn't able to meet them equitably, with technology or whatever is, just to meet them so they can stay in our schools. We have to think about why they leave in our schools. Once we solve that problem, we'll bring more kids in.
Do you have any
When
insight into why they're leaving?
that's the thing. A lot of times it's some people are moving. We do have a transient area here in Oak Harbor, so it's very difficult to have that, because we do have rotation times, for squadrons. We do also have other things, but a lot of times, personally, I don't know why students are leaving, but I definitely, that should be a question that I think we should kind of start looking into, even as a community.
Yeah.
Why are students leaving the Oak Harbor School District? What is going on? Is it as quality education? Is it not enough CTE courses, career technical courses? Is it not enough extracurricular activities, drama, sports, other things? What makes a kid stay in school? So yeah, I think those are some of the questions we definitely need to start looking into and trying to solve, so we don't face. I mean, I know we're already facing a huge budget issue. We do have a lot of budget constraints even in the Oak Harbor district. We've had to make some tough decisions here. But I think if we start looking at the reasons what's causing this and we solve those, maybe we can fix that whole budget that way. Now, that might not solve all problems, but we can definitely have, at least we know kind of what the issue is. But students, will leave, and it's unfortunate. I really wish we can keep every student in each school, but life does happen, and there are other paths for students for a reason as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed I was doing a little superficial research, really getting ready for this. I was out at the OSPI's report card for the Oak Harbor School District, and it looks like
Mhm.
the district's lost maybe 35 kids year over year.
Mhm.
And at $18,000 a pop, that's a pretty significant amount of money.
It is.
Yeah. Um, are there pieces of the job of school board director that you're most interested in, like policy or budget or curriculum or something like that?
Well, it's funny. I think it's all important. Every single piece of the director's puzzle is very important. Um, I think some of the things that I'm actually looking most forward to, and hopefully can face this challenge head on, is a lot of it is curriculum, as well as budget. Uh, with the budget, if we have a sound budget and we can prove to our taxpayers that we are spending our budgets properly, and we are allowing, um, or allocating the funds appropriately across the spectrum, from students. I'm always going to start everything with students first, because that is our main goal. The schools always come first, or will always be first, and our students are always a part of every decision we make. So those two things are kind of hand in glove. So yeah, we got to look at our schools and our students, figure out exactly the best way to spend that money for them. And then everything else spreads out from there. If it's new technology, if it's new curriculum, if it's adaptive technology for students, is it supporting the SPED department, the special education department? Is it a food service thing? Is it more CTE funding? What is it, or how much we spend about on athletics? Where's all that going? And then we have to look at payroll, because payroll is a huge concern, because most of our budget is for payroll. And I'm not saying that, we cut everybody's money. I'm not saying that at all, but we do have to realize that when almost 80% of our budget is going to personnel, to staff, we have to realize that what we have left is very important, because we need the staff to support what our students need as well. So I think we should be very mindful of that, and be smart when it comes to our budget, and allocate them properly, and making sure that each school and each department have their equitable and fair amount, and they need to know what it is. So at the beginning of September, and they have their full year budget, they know exactly what they have from start and what they have to finish, and try to stay within that budget. So hopefully that is one of the challenges I like to face. Curriculum's another one. I think some of our adoptions are great. There's some software out there that our students are using that I think is amazing. I'm not going to call it out by name, but I've worked with the same curriculum, and it's awesome. I love working with it. And I know our students work well with it, because there's been some articles already written in newspapers about some of the successes we have had with some of our ELA digital programs. And it's been amazing reading these articles. I wish more people knew exactly how hard that the department who got this curriculum in there, and the great things that was said, especially at the OSPI level, when they're saying our school lifted their reading comprehension. We're only one of the top, or one of 3 schools in the state of Washington to do this during the pandemic. Like, our ELA scores went up. That's amazing. We're one of 3 schools, and we're Oak Harbor. That's probably one of the best success stories that not many people have heard of. There's a few, but I think it's so great that we were able to do that.
So that actually raised an interesting point, because when I was going over that research and that report card, I was taking a look at the district measures, the state measures, how many students are meeting grade level expectations in English language arts, math, and science. And the numbers were not very encouraging on the math front. After, I think it's 5th grade, it's about 30%, 33% that are meeting grade level. And on the English and language arts side, it's running about 45%. These are numbers from the 2021-2022 school year. But 45, sometimes nudging up to 50. And then there's this bump down at 10th grade where 66% of those students were at grade level. And, I know you work in a different school district, so maybe you don't know exactly why that is. It might be the software you're talking about. But do you have a sense of why there'd be such a spike with one particular group?
Again, it all has to do, I think a lot of times it could do with curriculum. Because again, the article that I read, it was dealing with their ELA program. So like I said, it's something that we definitely need to look into. And I think every board director, regardless if I get elected or not, this is something as a parent we definitely need to look into. Our numbers are low, but their graduation rates at 93%.
Yes.
So is it a system issue? And what I mean by that is it a education system issue, not an Oak Harbor issue? Is it the systems issue? Are we allowing our students to be unprepared to get into the real world after high school? If we are, shame on us. And that's just a personal thing. Now, there are things that happen, and I don't really say we can base education on a test. I know the SBAC, the standard test that students have to take each year. I know that can't measure. It just takes a snapshot of what a student learns. It doesn't measure the whole thing, and I completely understand that. So maybe it's the tools that we're using to measure, but we definitely need to look into that. And I think every educator has the ability to see exactly what's going on and what's causing this. And if it's a money issue, that should never be the issue. Like, oh, it's because we don't have the money for that. That should never be an issue. We make the money for it somehow. There are grants, there are things to better our students. And I think we need to look at all those options, especially seeing how our economy is going and seeing how everything else is going right now. We definitely need to see alternate ways to ensure our students' success.
Very good. So I've been asking this question of several candidates, and in some ways it's a little bit of an unfair question, but I'll throw it out there anyway.
Okay.
Let's say you get elected in November.
Okay.
It's a 4-year term, so you'd be up for re-election in 2027.
Actually, mine's a 2-year term.
Oh, that's right, because you're
5 to 2, yeah, because I'm filling in that gap. Yeah, so it's 2 years.
That's right. So for the audience members, in this cycle, we would normally expect to see, I think it's 2 school board directors on the ballot, but because of 3 this time, but because of resignations in the 2 that were elected 2 years ago, all 5 seats are on the ballot. So you're running for one of the seats that I don't remember off the top of my head. Is it the one that Eric Mann left?
No, it's
John Diamond left. Okay, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So 2 years from now, you're running for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have benchmarks in mind now that you'd say, when I'm running for re-election in 2 years, I can look back and say, hey, we accomplished this. This is why you should put me back in office.
I would say yes. There's always going to be a benchmark. I'm not going to say graduation rate. Our graduation rate is amazing. 93% is awesome. It's a really good thing. It's what have I done to better prepare a student as a director?
Okay.
And that measurement would be if we look at starting a student out and giving them the best curriculum possible. So we'll just even go with curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Is that curriculum working for them? Is it making them learn and understand it? And is a continuation of their progress, either from K all the way through 12? Did that work? Are they able to have critical thoughts? Also, I know we're a district who has a very old strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think, to be honest with you, as a director, I think one of the biggest benchmarks is to I know they're in the process right now of going through their strategic planning process to get this thing done, but having that finalized and making sure that everything in the strategic plan coincides with what we're doing, and everything that we're doing aligns right with that strategic plan. That will align the ability to have success regardless of who's in the seat. So I think that's important as well. So I think the biggest benchmark is to ensure that if I'm elected, that I can make sure that the strategic plan goes all the way through its process, and that it's not just a document that we have on the shelf, but it's a living document that we use in every day. And that's teaching, that's using it at the warehouse when it comes to getting curriculum, and that's using it in food services to ensure that our students are fed. In sports, everything we do needs to support that strategic plan, and that strategic plan needs to support every student we have in our district. So I think that'll be the biggest benchmark for me personally, would be to ensure that the strategic plan is implemented correctly and is onboarded by everybody, has buy-in from everybody.
Very good.
Community, staff, parents, everybody. That's what would definitely I think guide us the way that Oak Harbor Public Schools need to go.
Very good. A lot of times I ask that question, people don't have a good answer. So that's a good answer. So we've had a handful of topics that have come up in the news lately that have faced the school board. And I just kind of like you to get a sense of what your thinking is on them. Let's start with, we've been talking about budget and money. The district, now, happily, the district had a white knight write in the form of Senator Mazzal, but they ran 2 bond measures in 2022 and 2023 and lost both of them. Why do you think that was? What can you learn from those measures? Were the measures designed wrong? Was the communication about them wrong? Why do you think they didn't succeed?
Hindsight always being 2020. I think there's a lot of things we could have learned from it. I'm being on the outside. Yes. I can only speculate. That's the hard part about this one. But as a community member, I think when they first came out, I know, talking to some of my friends and fellow community members, that they were really kind of shocked that they're going to take down Fort Nugent Park, build a school there and move some stuff around. I think that was one of the major concerns. Yes, it is public school property, but also it's a great place for our students and community. So I think that was one issue, but that's an issue over here. And then, trying to ensure, if you look at our demographics as a community, we have a lot of single sailors, who support the government, who everything like that, who are here long term, maybe. Sometimes, they become, they enjoy the residency of Washington, which I did. I definitely did that first because state taxes are a real thing, and
Yes.
in Washington State, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yep.
and so it's really hard to get those sailors who have a fixed income. Same thing with, if you look at our older community who are on a fixed income as well. And then you look at our economical crisis that is going on. I mean, our inflation rates went through the roof, and we're trying to ask for how much money, and things are already tight as it is at the table. So I think there's a lot of different things kind of going on that caused both bond measures to fail. And I think I can't say it was just one item. Could the school board and the school has done something better? Maybe. But how do you project that to communities? Not only just having people bring it into the school board office itself, maybe going out and doing forums, because I know they had a few at the high school. But what other public settings do they have? Do they have anything at West Beach where we get more people involved, things like that? So I think getting the community engagement helps out. And why has the community engagement gone away? Because we were doing so well with bonds and levies beforehand. Is it the economy? Is it the loss in trust? Was it because of the COVID? Because of the pandemic, when schools shut down and things like that? There's so many different things that have caused, I would say, the lack of support. But I think we have to really look at the thing where we're asking our community members who already have a challenging budget of their own to take money off their table and put it into the schools again. But what's the reward? How are we going to show them that, yes, we're going to take X amount of dollars per $1,000 that you own in your property, and we're going to put this towards this school. But here's what you're going to get out of it. You're going to get a well-educated student who's going to be ready to take the world, regardless if it's in industry, if it's in the military, if it's at a four-year college, if it's going on to be a doctor, a dentist, a vet, anything. We need to be able to prove to them that the money that they are giving our students goes to our students. And I think that's one of the things we kind of need to look at doing. How do we do that? There are some ways, but again, it's how do we get our community involved? I think the community involvement is what's going to make Oak Harbor better.
I think we're getting low on time, but you said a magic word in there that I want to touch base on, because it came up with a candidate in the Stanwood Camino School District as well, and that's trust. There does seem to be a little bit of a loss of trust in the voters and parents in the school districts. Why do you think that is?
I think sometimes, I know we use the buzzwords of transparency and everything like that, and it's important to be transparent, but also they need to be involved in the decisions as well. Because I think a lot of times, as a community member and a parent, I think, hey, what about? I know we have to make sometimes we have to make decisions that are for certain things, and I get that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't make hard decisions at all, but the understanding why. I think a lot of times we don't get that. Why was this decision made? Well, here's the reason why. We either make this decision and we keep what you want, but we lose this, and this. Are you willing to lose the other stuff because you want to keep this? And I think being open and honest that way is important. And I think that will bring back some of that trust. Like, hey, the hard decision we have to make is because we don't want to lose a kid's or a student's specialty program. That's the last thing I ever want to do as a board director, is take away from a student. I'd rather take away from myself prior to taking away from any student.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I agree. Okay, so we should probably wrap up, because I think we are pretty close to time. So lots of other stuff we could talk about, but time is fleeting. So what is the best way for people to get in contact with you or find out what you're talking about, what you're interested in with the school board? Is it your Facebook page? Is there a web page?
So my Facebook page is my web page. Please go to that. Use the voter pamphlets. Use my email. It's WSmith4 OHSB@gmail.com. Please email me. Ask me questions, whatever. If you do email me a question, and I'm going to email you back and say, hey, is it okay if I put this on Facebook? Because if you have a question, everybody else has a similar question, by all means. And if you want, you look me up on Facebook. Again, it's Wilforce OHSB, which is Oak Harbor School Board. Right. So if you look me up there, ask a question in a comment. Please, by all means, ask the questions. I'm more than willing to answer your question. I'll answer from my heart. I'm not gonna oh, what's the best way to answer this one to get everybody. I'm gonna tell you exactly who I am up front, because to be honest with you, I might forget what I tell you later on. But if I'm honest with you and I tell you who I am, I won't forever forget that. So I'm not gonna to try to give the best political answer, because this isn't about politics. This is about our students, and always about our students. So it's better for me to be open and honest and hey, here's how I feel, and here's what I would do, and here's how far I'm willing to fight for your students and every other student as well, including my own. So I'm a parent with you all as well. So always remember that. I think having a parent involved is also important, because we know, our kids tell us all this stuff wow, that's weird, or hey, you know what, sometimes this is what being adult's all about. You don't get yes every time.
Very good. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking the time.
Really I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Thank you for all the hard work you are doing as well for all the candidates out here. So thank you.
You bet. You bet. All right. We'll talk again soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you again. Have a great evening.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye. Well, thank you for watching our interview with Will Smith, who's running for director position number 5 in the Oak Harbor School District. We invite you to subscribe to our newsletter, available in 4 local editions: Camano Island, North Whidbey, Central Whidbey, and South Whidbey. The newsletter arrives in your mailbox every Monday morning with news and events from your part of Island County. Subscribe to our newsletter at voterinterest.com/subscribe. And look for more of these candidate interviews as the election season continues. Thank you and good night.